Hi, my name is David Yager, and this is the Baja Knives video, Methods of Work. This is a short series, and the first one is going to be on ox horn or cow horn. We're going to talk about the basics and cutting of horn, acquiring it, shaping it, and those kind of basic things. This will be a multi-part series, so stay tuned for the other pieces that will be coming up shortly. I'm fortunate to live on the Baja Peninsula in Mexico on the west coast, and in our small town we have many ranchers, real ranchers that ride horses into town and produce products. One of the things that they produce is cattle, and because of this there's an abundance of cow horn if you know the right person to talk to. It's in a pretty basic form when it comes to me. As you can see, it's kind of yucky looking. There's hair on it, there's blood, there's flies, there's maggots. It's actually not pretty, but with the use of a sawzall and some patience, one can turn this into some really nice material. You can, by the way, buy already cleaned up processed horn, and I'll mention that at the end of this video in a resources section. It's important to know that you should not work with ox horn like this in an enclosed area. It is really stinky and nasty smelling. Do not work on it in your house or in your shop with the door closed or with any kind of an enclosed area. So what we're going to do is look at these three samples of horn. This is pretty mediocre stuff. It's not especially nice. It's sound, but it's not especially large, or the color isn't especially nice. You can see the one on the left does have some nice color to it. So that's the one that we're going to use. It will probably yield 3 or 4 or 5, 6 maybe pieces that will then work into covers for folding knives. It would also yield a couple of 3, maybe 4 nice big pieces that could be used in fixed blade knives. This is the piece that's been cut off, and you can see in the middle there's some interesting looking material in there. That is actually bone. So when the cow grows his horn, he's growing a bone, and over the top of that bone the horn is grown. Sometimes when you get the material raw like this, it'll include that bone inside it, and you've got to deal with it. Basically what I do is I toss these up on the roof of my house and let them dry out for a couple of months, turning them over once or twice during that time, and that bone will come out pretty easily. If it doesn't come out, it's not a problem. You can saw it and just use it as if the horn didn't have a bone in it, and it'll eventually just fall out. So here's the piece with the bone removed. You can see around from about 11 o'clock on this piece till about 5 or 6 o'clock going around that the material seems to be thicker. Horn doesn't have a uniform size always. Sometimes it's thinner on one side, sometimes it's more brittle in one section than another, and you just sort of have to get a feel for it. But because this is a sort of a run-of-the-mill kind of piece, run-of-the-mill quality, I accept that and I just work around that. This is the same piece as in the last slide, and you can see it's been reversed. You can see how it's so much thicker at this end than it was at the other end. As the horn grows, it becomes solid at the tip. So that tip is a solid piece of material, and it becomes hollow maybe an inch or so back from the tip, and then it's hollow all the way back down until the junction to the skull. Here I've taken the horn and without any kind of a core in it, I've cut it in half on the bandsaw, just straight in half, as safely as possible. And of course we all know about the safety tips of a bandsaw. You never ever get your fingers in the way. You keep your hands in the safety zone, which is far away from that blade, and you treat it with a great deal of respect. So this is our piece. You can see that it's about 8 inches long, which is not very long. Like I said, this is kind of a run-of-the-mill piece of horn. The tip has been cut off already, so the solid part is gone. But you can see the nice color. There's a white and a black color to it, which will come out to be more of a creamy white and maybe a tan, maybe a black. You never know until you get into processing it and sanding it. And by the way, you can use all your regular woodworking tools on horn. So I'm going to be using the bandsaw, sanders, regular saws, things that you might already have in your woodworking tool inventory. So in this case, I'm going to be making a cover for a folding knife, and I've taken the cover off of the folding knife, a typical folding knife, and use it for a template to draw on the horn. So that little blue piece of plastic is what I'm using as my template. I will draw around it and see how many pieces I can yield from this one piece of horn. These are the 3 pieces that I got out of this 1/2. 3 pieces is not a real handy number, but when I combine it with the other half that I'm going to work, I've got 6 pieces, and that will make 3 knives. Now that's okay. Here you can see that the knife cover, the little blue cover, fits nicely over the 3 pieces. Now that's just the way that I do it. One can do it a different way, and in fact I have a different method. If it's a real exceptional horn, I'll use a different kind of scheme and cut it differently, taking much more care. Now with this particular horn, I could have probably gotten 4 pieces on each side, but it would be touch and go, and I didn't want to jeopardize that one last piece by trying to squeeze another one in there. So my 3 rough pieces are set for straightening. Now there's nothing straight on any of these 3 pieces. There's a curvature in 2 different directions. Horn has some very interesting geometry to work with. It's got a sweep that will sometimes be a compound sweep, and then you've got the concave nature of it when you cut it like this. Now it could be flattened. I could, for example, have taken the larger piece, cut it into more or less a rectangle, and then flatten it, and then done my scribing work on it and cut it out. However, that's going to be for the next video, the discussion about flattening and straightening things out. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out our website, BajaKnives.com. Included here are some examples of some folding knives that I've made that have these cow horn scales on them.